What you're about to experience are my opinions and truths. I'm suggesting they're possibilities for you to consider, in which you can then come up with your own logical conclusions.
Lakers will get a chance to take the lead, and look who has the ball. With half a minute to play, Bryant for the lead. Yes! Kobe Bryant gives the Lakers the lead.
I tell you something. This is, he was legendary before this game. This takes it to an absolute another level. An absolute another level.
And a very grand welcome to all the fellow decoders out there around the world, wherever you are. My name is Logan, and this is Decode Your Reality. And today we're going to be breaking down and decoding Kobe and Lucifer. And you might be asking, why would you decode these two characters, which have really absolutely nothing to do with one another? But yet I'm going to show you with clear and convincing support and evidence that these two are completely and emphatically connected and in bed together, and it is one running the other. And I'm going to show all of that to you during this presentation. Folks, this one's going to blow your freaking doors off. And I'm going to suggest you get strapped in, put on a pair of headphones, block out the outside world. This one's going to be a lot of fun, folks. It's unreal, the things that I now come across when I start to decode. And I never, ever plan my decodes. They typically come through some kind of download in my mind. And this is how I started decoding. Now, I decoded Kobe's death. And I'm not going to get into it and talk about, people think it was fake, or those are all theories, right? But there's no way we can prove any of that. But I'm going to show you that Kobe's life was not his own. That's what I'm here to show you today, and how he's connected directly to Lucifer. Absolutely directly connected. And this is how I started. I think I was watching something on YouTube, and a little thing popped up. And it was a highlight of Kobe's last game, which I was kind of curious. And I mean, what a memorable game he had. 60 points going out like that after a 20-year career. But nonetheless, folks, this is where I started, and then it led me down this rabbit hole, and then I changed it to Kobe and Lucifer. And that is what you're going to see during this presentation. Folks, even if you're not a fan of sports, if you're a fan of the esoteric, this one's going to rock your world. And I'm going to ask you to have an open mind with this presentation. Have an open mind with this presentation and really use your logic and common sense from what I'm about to show you right now. So it really started with this. His last game, April 13th. Of course, the big standout is the April 13th date, which is the anagram, a number anagram of pi itself, pi being 3.14. April 13th is 413. And that was very clear out of the gates with this finale game that he came into and went out with a bang with 60 points in 42 minutes. 42, of course, is life, the universe, everything. That's how many minutes he played during this game. 42 minutes. So we can't leave that out. But nonetheless, folks, let's jump into this decode. And here are the topics of conversation during this presentation. In the zero position, the intro. Always want to include the zero. I have a few slides to start this presentation off. Number 1, the nickel bean. Number 2, 71. Number 3, New York to LA. Number 4, The Shot of Time. Number 5, Golden Game. And always love hearing your feedback and comments. Number 6, what did you see? So folks, here we go, getting started. I wanted to show all of you exactly my method of decoding during this presentation. It's called synchronized decoding. Here are the 8 major pieces of my decoding efforts during this presentation. I'm going to take all 8 of these and blend them all together. And I will ask you to use your logic and common sense here. For those of you that still believe, and again, this is a make the truth your own kind of situation in life at this point, how man could ever code at the level I'm about to show you. And what would be the purpose of it? And how many people would have to be involved? And how things that have absolutely no relevance have everything to do, and they have a ton of relevance to what I'm about to show you. So just keep an open mind with that, folks. So here we go. Here's part of the intro, and I wanted to show you, and I have much more than just this, but here is the points that Kobe scored in his first game and his last game. His first game was in New York against the Knicks, scored 1 point at the free throw line. And then his last game scored 60 points, his last 2 points at the free throw line. I'm going to show you why that is. And if you notice, when we bring the string of pi, as most of you know, a big piece of my decoding is using the string of pi. Many of you are catching on to this. It is the pi, the string of pi that we all make up as human beings through our emotions, and everything is coded into the string of pi. We live in pi, the round, infinite circle, and that's tied to Earth. But anyway, the 160 is where we take the first game and the last game, bring it together, and we get the 160. Look at where it appears in the decimal string of pi. 396, which is what Tesla calls the key to the universe. 396, folks. And if you take the 396 and you add that up, you're going to get the number 18, which is right here. And then we get another bridge to synchronize when we take the first game point of 1 and the last game points of 60, that's 61, and it is the 18th prime number. And 396 equals the number freaking 18. Folks, I mean, what are the odds? And again, could man be coding at this level? With these layers like this, you see what would have to go into this. And we're just getting started, folks. I'm going to keep going and showing and supporting that man is being used. Here is another part of the code. Of course, Kobe, this is very basic. I think I covered this in my decode of his death, but he wore the number 8 out of the gates, went to the number 24. Of course, remember, 24 is the number of the chromosomes that we have. 24 is the letter X, the X-Men. And 24 is tied to magnesium, the 12th element, which is tied to the hangman. But 8 divided by 24 equals the number 0.33. Now, before many of you may jump off and say, oh, there it is. There's the number tied to the organizations, and thinking that's where it's going to start, I'm going to ask you to consider removing that from your mind, because it goes way deeper than just tying it to some organization that may use the number because they know how powerful it is. But nonetheless, that 33 is very interesting, because when you look at the way Kobe scored his first points and his last points, and this is, to me, this is advanced decoding, because you're looking at multiple facets of what's going on in the story, in the script of this reality. His first point ever scored on November 5th was 1 point, and he scored it from the free throw line. The free throw line in the NBA is 15 feet from the basket to the line itself. And then his last 2 points ever scored in the game of basketball was on April 13th, where he scored 59 and 60 points. He scored those 2 points from the free throw line. Now, is that a coincidence that his last 3 points, remember, it's 3 points total, was at the free throw line? If you take the first point scored from the free throw line and then you take the last 2 points scored from the free throw line, you have 3 points total, and you'd have 15 feet from the last game, and you'd have 15 feet from the first game, and that would be a total of 30. And when you take 30 and the 3 points that he scored, you're going to get the number 33. That is the beginning of his career to the ending of his career. Now, is that stretching? Is that really trying to fit a square peg in a round hole? Some of you may think so, but when you get to these layers and you can observe this reality, it is all part of the script to tie in and fit it so mathematically precise, and it wasn't coded by man. I can assure you that. Here's another layer that absolutely is fascinating. When you take his first point and you tie it to the date that he scored it on, November 5th, 1996 in New York, and then you take his total points ever scored, 33,000, of course, there's another 33,643, which was finalized in his last game in April 13th in Los Angeles. Look at what the outcome is, folks, doing the numerology and breakdown. And it doesn't have to be Chaldean, but you could use any of them because we're just strictly going on numbers. What do you think the odds would be that his first point and his last points with the dates would end up being a yin-yang, folks? The separation between the beginning and the end and the blending of them all. What do you think the odds would be, folks, using straight up math? And again, could man ever code this? And you see what I'm saying? It's like, why would you sit down with a calculator and do it this way? And you'd have to do it from the very start of this guy's career. And I just don't think that's even possible. Let's get into more layers. Again, I'm going to show you the synchronized decoding to support my opinion that man's being used. And again, you got to make the truth your own. Here is the total amount of points Kobe scored during his career, 33,643. Reduced down, that's the number 19. This is where we're going to get into Lucifer, folks, because Lucifer is the sun. I know many of you that study the esoteric believe Lucifer is Venus, but I'm going to show you how it's tied to the sun. I showed this before in my Architect of the Universe Part 3. If you haven't seen that, check it out. But 19 is the total. When you reduce it down of all the points he scored, 19th element is called potassium. Potassium has an abbreviation of the letter K, which stands for kalium. That's Latin for potassium. What does Kobe's first name start with? Yeah, the letter K. 19 card in the tarot is the sun card. And the sun is gold. And what colors do the Lakers have on their jerseys? Purple and what color? Go look it up. It's gold. Here's the original spelling of Lucifer. It wasn't Lucifer, folks. That was the Latins or the Romans transferring all the spelling over to Lucifer. It was actually the original expression of it was in Hebrew, in the book of Isaiah. That's the first time it ever came on the scene, according to our history. And the original spelling of Lucifer, right here, ends up breaking down to the number 39. 39 right there is inside potassium as its average atomic weight measured in a laboratory. What's potassium's protons? 19. This scripture that talks about Lucifer, it says that he's fallen from heaven, and it's the morning star. What rises in the morning time? Every morning, as long as it's not cloudy. I'll give you a hint. It's right here. It's right there, the 19th card. It's the sun card. You're not going to find these with Venus, folks. You won't. The connections with Venus are just not there. Now, I'm not going to say it couldn't be that, but clearly we're looking at 3 layers with the language, and it's all leading to the sun. Morning star, to me, is the sun. So let's get into the first topic. That was the intro, folks, to come in with a bang. Let's go into the first topic called the nickel bean. In case you weren't convinced with the intro, let's get into the actual presentation. Here's the number 1 category, the nickel bean. And the reason why I quoted it that is because of Kobe's middle name. Now, folks, now you would have to bring in, you see, if this was really coded by man, you now would have to bring in Kobe's parents, who named him Kobe Bean Bryant. Now you'd have to bring his parents into this conspiracy, which I think starts to get ludicrous when you start to think of these ideas. So, as fate would have it, they're part of the code. It's tied to nickel. That's why it's called the nickel bean. When you go to the Royal Society of Chemistry, let me just pull it up here. When you go to the Royal Society of Chemistry, I don't even have it open here, and you look at nickel, here it is. This is what they used for the icon or picture to represent nickel. And the reason why, you scroll down here into the uses and properties, it's going to say the image explanation, the images of baked beans, which contain a surprising amount of nickel. Could have used anything else, but it was beans. And of course, nickel has 28 protons tied to the word Lucifer in the Chaldean. And folks, you're going to see throughout this presentation, I think I have one English in here throughout the entire, I'm using Chaldean only. Makes it very much more challenging to fit the narrative of your decoding, because it's easy to connect multiple ciphers. It gives you more chances. But if you just try using one, it reduces your chances down and it tightens up the narrative. And to me, it tells the true story. So Lucifer's 28, nickel is 28 protons. Nickel's called Devil's Copper, Old Saint Nick. Nickel has an atomic weight average of 58, and 58 is Puppet Master. Puppet Master is 58. 58 reduces down to 13. And 13, of course, there's the tie-in. Kobe's middle name is frickin' 13. Now, it goes farther than that, folks. 13, when you bring it into the string of pi, look at what it's tied to. Gold. 13's tied to gold. That's why 13 is such a powerful number. If you know what the 13 is and what it leads to in the esoteric, how the Last Supper has 13 people at the table, the zodiac has 12 zodiac signs, and then in the middle is the 13. This is all done on pure script and code, folks. And this guy's name right here is a 13, and it's gold. And again, what color do the Lakers have for their jerseys? Purple and gold. This guy's life was not his own, folks. And there it is. And this is the tie-in to Lucifer. And I'm just getting warmed up, folks. Wait till I show you more and more as I go along, if that didn't pique your interest. At the very top of this graphic are the three teams that were part of Kobe's legacy of start to finish, November 5th to April 13th. He started off playing the Knicks, and they left off playing the Jazz. And look at what these three teams equal in the English. I think this is my only English cipher that I'm going to be showing during this presentation. It's freaking gold. And why this is so important, why I have the golden ratio in the background, is because of the number 16, and there it is in the Chaldean. All three teams equal the number 16. And what is the golden ratio, the Fibonacci? 1.61. It's right there. You can't miss it, folks. You see the gold and the golden spiral, 1.6. Folks, this is all part of the script and the code, and man's not coding this. You can become conscious of the code, absolutely. I've become conscious of it, but I've shown over and over, just to prove my point, to support my point, my life is completely scripted. I don't work for any organization. I'm not belonging to any society, lodge, none of that stuff. Yet my life's completely coded. So here's the tie-ins to Kobe, Bean Bryant, and Lucifer. One example. And Kobe being born on August 23rd, 1978, is a direct tie-in to the actor that they casted to play Lucifer, Morningstar, on the hit Netflix show that many of you watch and have seen. Thomas John Ellis. Of course, his name's Thomas because Jesus had a twin brother named Thomas. The two twins. That's linked to Pisces and the two fish. Thomas John Ellis was born on November 17th. Notice the synchronicity. They both were born the same exact year. I know that's very loose, but it's a subtlety I didn't want to leave out. The main factor in this is their birthdays containing and linked to the same exact birth card. Now, here we go. Here's another layer that man would have to get to fit the narrative of what I'm showing you. And that is their birthdays. Kobe being born August 23rd. Here it is. It's the 3 clubs. And then Thomas John Ellis being born in November and the 17th. And then here is his card. So they both have the same exact card. And Bean is tied to nickel. And nickel is known as Devil's Copper. Lucifer. Architect. Puppet Master. All of that is synchronized with this decode so far, folks. And the word hell, which is what Lucifer is running in the show, is a freaking 16, which is tied to the actual card number of the 3 clubs. Here are the natural lineages of the cards. If you want these graphics, by the way, just send me an email. I've sent them to countless people now. Just pay it forward. I don't want anything in return. Just tell me what your name is at least. Some people don't even give me that, but here are the natural lineages of the cards, and there is the 3 clubs. Card number 16, which of course is tied to the Tower card in the tarot. But how about that, folks? Kobe Bean Bryant, Thomas John Ellis, both have the same card, which is the card representing hell. And you know, what's really interesting too, Thomas John Ellis being born on November 17th. Let me show you that. Here is the 365-day calendar and the days associated and what numbers they are. Thomas John Ellis being born in November and the 17th. Look what day it is, folks. There it is. 321 on a common year, 322 on a leap year. What number is 322 tied to? Yeah, I'll let you figure that out. You should automatically know what that is. And of course, the golden ratio, 1.61 times 2, is 322. And I have more to show you on that, folks, as we move through this presentation. So here is another look using more layers now of Kobe's first points and his last points. First points, November 5th. November 5th is the 2 diamonds card, card number 28, tied to the word architect and Lucifer. And then his last points scored on April 13th against the Jazz in Los Angeles was card 34. It's the 8 freaking diamonds card. And when you take the 2 and the 8 and you bring them together, you get 28. And of course, it's staring you right in the face right there. That is architect. And then we know that Lucifer is an exact match using the same cipher in numerology called Chaldean, folks. That is it right there. When you bring more layers into this, we bring alchemy now into the play. And architect being 28 is linked to 2 elements. The first one in red is silicon. Silicon is the number 14 protons, average atomic weight 28. That's why I have time, the word time and God here. 14 and 14. 14 plus 14 is 28. The time God. The God running time. The architect runs time. The God of time. Even the word Satan equals the number 14 in the Chaldean as well. But here is the other synchronicity, folks. 28 architect, 28 nickel. Again, 58 puppet master, 58 reducing to the 13. Kobe Bean Bryant, Bean being 13. Folks, this is not trying to stretch things. This is not trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. These are direct connections that should not be ignored or overlooked or just brushed off as coincidence or thinking that man could code at this level. It's just too complex. Decoding is far different than coding, folks. Far different. And I have yet to come across anybody that has ever coded anything for the future and gotten it right. I've never seen anybody do it. Not at this level, using 8 different layers. I'd love to see somebody come and code something for the future, have it come out exactly the way I want it, and use 8 different layers as a minimum, as what I'm showing to decode from. Here is another layer using alchemy. Kobe's first points, November 5th, is boron. His last points, April 13th, is aluminum. Remember, aluminum has an atomic weight of 26. The word God is 26. And remember, folks, when you add these 2 up right here, through alchemy, right there in the very middle, Using alchemy, using the trusty calculator, you're going to get 37.991. And of course, what was Kobe's age during his last game on April 13th, 2016? 37. 37. So let's get into the second topic, 71. Oh, this one's going to be fun. So here's another look at this, folks, using the timestamp on the calendar. So here's another layer. Another layer we add in, and it's the calendar. I don't even think I even added this one in. This would be number 9 of my synchronized decoding. But here it is, November 5th, 1996 to April 13th, 2016. It's a span of 7,100 days. Of course, you drop the zeros, you get the 71, and it's linked to a few elements. The first one is gallium. Gallium's the 31st element, and of course, what is 31? It's 3.1, which is pi. Tied to pi, tied to, I showed the pi, I showed the yin-yang. The yin-yang is pi. Showed that in the beginning with his scoring, but I'm going to show this graphic twice using this example tied to gallium in the 31, because you see Kobe scored the 60 points in his last game, and he hit the shot to go ahead, and the Utah Jazz never scored after that. And the way they had it, and if you watch the beginning of this presentation, I showed Kobe's amazing last shot. And, you know, again, folks, you got to use common sense and logic, okay? If he didn't score 60 points, I would not have been able to show this. It's not just people maybe not defending him to let him score. He has to hit the buckets. He has to hit the buckets. He's got to hit the buckets for this all to work. So using common sense and logic, folks, there's way too many people that are involved that would have to be part of the conspiracy, besides the referees, besides Vegas, besides maybe the ball having something in it to make it go into the rim and it's remote controlled like some people think. All these factors, folks, it gets to be impossible for these things to stack up and become true. What I'm showing, and then trying to go on what people theorize of how these things come and take place. But nonetheless, when the clock ended, and I will show you the actual timestamp of when the ball really went into the rim, but when they stopped the clock, it was 31.6 seconds left. And then again, it's got to be the guy who's running the clock. Do you think he can actually stop it exactly at that moment to get it at 31.6 because he knew it's going to sync up like this? Because look at the synchronicities on this, folks. This is how it would be absolutely ludicrous to think man could be coding this. He scored 60 total points. 31.6 seconds left on the clock. 60 appears in the string of pi at the 127th decimal digit. 127 is the 31st freaking prime number tied to the element gallium, which is 71. And we're going to continue on that. Here it is, folks, in the string of pi with the 7,100 days of Kobe's first and last game. When you bring that into the string of pi, folks, I mean, this, I don't know how else you supposed to look at this. I just laugh at it because it's just hilarious. It's just hilarious now. I mean, look, I even picked this graphic. I mean, I didn't even see this until right now. What is that number right there on his jersey? Well, it could be 60. Yeah, it is 60. Okay. Because he scored 60, maybe. I don't know. But nonetheless, folks, 7,100 in the string of pi. Look at where it appears. 24,074th decimal digit. There's his 24 on his freaking jersey. I mean, do you see how mathematically precise this code is? And here's another layer of his starting game and ending game and how many days in between. And then you got to bring that into the string of pi. And it's a direct match to his jersey number. What is the number 74 tied to the GOD? When you take 24 and 74 and you add it up, you're going to get the number 98. 24 plus 74 is 98. And what's absolutely fascinating about this, here's another layer we have to get. It's tied to the freaking latitude, longitude coordinates of Madison Square Garden, where he scored his first points, and the Staples Center in Los Angeles, where he scored his last points. when you do the breakdown of the total numerology of the latitude, longitude of both cities, ends up becoming the frickin' 98, which is a direct match of 24 plus 74, which is tied to the 7,100 in the string of pi. So pi has nothing to do with the numbers, but it has everything to do with it. Pi has nothing to do with Kobe's first game and last game, but it has everything to do with it. Man could never code this, folks. It's just way too complicated. Of course, 98 in the string of pi, it appears at the 80th decimal digit of pi. 80 and 81 is 161. There is that freaking golden ratio. That's tied to the tree of life trianology if you've been following along with this great research. And, here is another layer, folks, with his start to finish career of November 5th, April 13th. November 5th, both of these days, 1996 and April 13th, 2016, they were both leap years. So November 5th is the 310th day of the year in leap years. April 13th is the 104th day of the year in leap years. And then we bring that into the string of pi. This is where they're located at. 310, 441st decimal digit, 104, 269th decimal digit. You bring that into the trusty calculator, you add that up, folks, and look at the number that we get. 710. I mean, again, using common sense and logic, folks, do you see what has to go into this? This is so mathematically precise. Man could just never code this, folks. And some of you think that there's quantum computers. Well, again, his family would have to be involved. His mother and father would have to be involved by naming him Kobe Bean Bryant. There's factors that just wouldn't fit in the narrative of a quantum computer spitting out these numbers. Latitude, longitudes, these cities have been here for a very long time. It's all linked to the golden ratio. Lakers, purple and gold. I mean, all these are factored in. But look at this, 710. Again, 7,100 days between his first and last points in his career. This is just pure mathematic precision is what we're looking at right here. And whatever coded this reality is not from the physical reality we all share. It's not done by man. Here's another unrelated element that I wanted to bring into all this, since we were showing the 7-1-0-0 and the 7-1-0, and I'm going to be showing the 71 here in a minute and how it's tied to Lucifer and Kobe. But here is Route 710 in California. It's called the 710. I've been on it many times when I lived in Los Angeles. Look at the length at the very bottom of California Interstate 710. It's 23 miles. And 23 miles is 37 kilometers. Kobe was born on August 23rd, and he played his last freaking game at the age of 37. I mean, there it is, folks. And there it is. The 710 with his career in pi, which have nothing, zilcho to do with Highway Interstate 710 in California. Absolutely nothing to do with it. Yet the numbers are still matching up with Kobe Bean Bryant and the length of it. I mean, are you freaking kidding me? Folks, your jaw should be on the floor. Mine was when I was decoding this. A lot of things just don't impress me, but this decode, this is pure mathematical precision right here. Absolutely. And man is just not coding this. They're just not. This has nothing to do with Kobe, but yet it has everything to do with him. Let's keep going, because I'm going to show you more. How about the number 71 in the string of pi? Well, look at where it's located at, folks. It occupies two digits, 39 and 40. Here, let me be really transparent. Here is Sabidium.com, the website I use to check against the string of pi and the numbers, and we type in the number 71, and there it is. It's 39 and 40. And remember, folks, what did I say was the original spelling for Lucifer in the Hebrew? 39. 39, folks. 39, and there it is, tied to the 71, tied to Lucifer, folks. What is 39 plus 40? 79. What's 79? It's gold. What is gold, folks? It's tied to the colors of the Los Angeles Lakers, purple and gold. It's tied to the sun. Lucifer, in all of these examples, folks, is our sun above our heads. That is the star that rises in the morning. Now, I know some of you, It's Jesus. Well, Jesus had a twin brother named Thomas, the two twins. So is Jesus the Son? Makes sense to me. It's Jesus and Lucifer, the two twins of the sun, the yin yang of the sun. That's what makes more sense than saying it's Venus. Venus makes no sense. And there is another layer of it using alchemy, folks. I said we'd be bringing it in. Besides gallium, it's lutetium. And how do you say Lucifer? What does it start with? Lucifer? Remember, if you follow Manly P. Hall, the great 33-degree Freemason, in his book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages, he said that Lucifer's numbers are 741. And I mean, it's right there. That's not Venus, folks. It's not tied to Venus. It's tied to the sun, which is the devil. I mean, here's more syncs. If you weren't convinced of all the support I'm showing you, here's another one, folks. Here's more of the 71 tied to Kobe, tied to Lucifer. Lucifer season 5, the cast. Look at what it says in the caption. Who is playing God in the final series? This is where the architect, whatever it is, it's a freaking comedian. It's a jokester. Meet the 24 star. What is Kobe's number? This guy right here, Dennis Haysbert, the Allstate insurance commercial guy that he really, his career took off with that. Was in the movie Heat, been in a lot of shows. He was the president in the show 24 with Kiefer Sutherland. Strong character. But that's who they casted to play God and the father of Lucifer, was this guy right here. And look at what we have with his numerology. I mean, are you freaking kidding me? Just using the Chaldean, folks. Dennis Dexter Haysbert is the number freaking 71. The father of Lucifer in the show Netflix, whom they casted, who was in 24, and Kobe's number was 20 freaking 4. I mean, it just gets comical. This one really blew me away myself personally. Here to the left, Georges Urbain is the guy responsible for the discovery of the 71st element, lutetium. And what I wanted to point out, folks, this one was eerie. This guy was born on April 12th, 1872, and Kobe's last game was just one day after, on April 13th. And the eerie part about it is this guy died on November 5th. And do you remember what Kobe's first game was? November freaking 5th, folks. The only difference is just one day, April 12th to April 13th. But folks, I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see these direct connects and how this code is perfectly and mathematically precise. And this guy has nothing to do with the Lakers. He has nothing to do with any kind of like conspiracy, trying to pull the woolly over your eyes. None of that stuff, folks. But yet it's all part of the software and the script. All of it. No matter what you think of Kobe, and maybe you think he faked his death, and these are all theories, but that's really irrelevant here, right? It doesn't matter. Really, it doesn't matter. If he's still alive, if he faked his death. What matters is the code that's showing you all these direct patterns that are undeniable, and man is not coding this. They're just not. Here was another article I found on Kobe Bryant's final game. This is what they put on there. I think this was ESPN. I think I X'd it out, but I think it was ESPN. A flurry of jump shots and glory. Look at what the total numerology is using Chaldean once again. There's that 71. It's just a mirror of that 170. It's in there, folks. And this is the physical address of the Staples Center in Los Angeles, the full address, the breakdown of it. Notice how many letters there are there. 30 freaking 9, which is tied to Lucifer. And that's the 170. It's a direct freaking match, folks. A direct match. So let's get into the third topic now. And we're just getting warmed up. But here we go. The third topic, called New York to LA. I mean, if that didn't blow you away, folks. This one is going to completely upend your mind. So I decided to plug in the maps in Google and find out the address of Madison Square Garden, Kobe's first game, and the last game played in the Staples Center in Los Angeles. And this is what it gave me. This is what it put out. Now, we'd have to get artificial intelligence involved in this to be part of the conspiracy. It's 41 hours. It's off of Highway 80. Just remember that Madison Square Garden and Staples Center their numerology was a division of 0.80. But it's 2,795 miles between these two arenas where Kobe played his first and last games. And of course, lo and behold, folks, he plugged 2795 into the string of pi. Folks, look at where it comes out at. I mean, you tell me how you would describe this right here. How are you to explain what you're seeing right here? The mileage between Kobe's first game and last game, and it really has no relevance. And it's having to take this Highway I-80 across the United States, and Google spits out 2,795 miles, and it's found at the 28th decimal digit of pi, which is tied to Architect and Lucifer again. How else are we to describe what you're seeing right here? And thinking man could code this, folks. I sound like a broken record, but yeah, here it is again. I showed that, or I said that. It's taking Highway 80, I-80 West, and Madison Square Garden 63, Staples Center 51. When you divide the two, it's 0.80. Subtleties, but you can't leave them out. But folks, how about that? How are we to describe this, of what you're seeing right here? You see, this entire reality is scripted. The software was called The Game of Life was written before each and every one of us got here, and we're all just playing out our blueprint. Folks, that's all we're doing. And again, going back to the Madison Square Garden, latitude, longitude, Staples Center, latitude, longitude, being tied to that golden ratio, knowing that it's New York to Los Angeles, and bringing these two together and giving us that golden ratio. That 98 for the total latitude, longitude in the string of pi is found at the 80 and 81st decimal digit. 80 plus 81 is 161. I mean, folks, you can't make this stuff up right here. From New York, the starting point, to Los Angeles, the ending point of this guy's career. Remember that his career is tied to the gold and the golden ratio, folks. I mean, you just can't make this stuff up. You just can't. And this is a big deal right here. I wanted to throw this in case you're wondering how big of a deal this golden ratio is. This Fibonacci spiral, pure mathematics. Tied to Skull and Bones, tied to Thomas John Ellis's birthday of the 322nd day of the year. That's 161 times 2. But here is the dates, not the years, because the World Trade Center opened on April 1st, 1973. And of course, it came down on September 11th, minus the years, the days in between of when it was first opened and when it came tumbling down is a span of 161 days, remembering that it's also 5 months and 8 days. 161 days is 5 months and 8 days. What's 58 nickel? What's 58 puppet master? That's what runs this reality, folks. That's the architect. You can slice it, dice it any way you want. You're going to keep seeing the same patterns when you decode using this methodology, this synchronized decoding, folks. This is a big deal. Man carries out the blueprint. They're not in control of the blueprint. They may become conscious of the blueprint. Many of you are. Many of you are waking up seeing the code. But you're not running the blueprint, folks. My life is completely scripted. How are you to explain that? What makes me any different than anything else you're seeing on the world stage? Let's get into the fourth topic, called the shot of time. And I showed this in the very beginning. This is the still screenshot of Kobe taking his last full shot, because his last 2 points were at the free throw line. This was his last full 2 points besides the free throw. This was point number 57 and 58. Remember that. His last full shot was 57 and 58. 58 is the puppet master. This is the exact moment. This is the ball going into the net. Now, they stopped the clock with 31.6 seconds, but if you watch the video like I have, you're more than welcome. I'm going to leave it in the description below. You go ahead and watch it, and you pause it, and you see when that ball goes through that rim into the net. It is at 32 seconds exactly. The score, of course, doesn't change at that moment, but these are the numbers that we're left with on the scoreboard. And folks, I want to, digress and say, what does that look like right there to you folks? That's an all-seeing eye with the golden ratio, the spiral, the Fibonacci sequence right there, folks. It's all over the place. You can't miss it once you see it. It's all about gold, folks, turning lead into gold. We are being mined for our energetic gold. That is the way it works. We are food for the gods, or God, the ambrosia, as the Greeks called it. But nonetheless, here it is, folks. The last shot of Kobe's career, the last full shot, besides the free throws at the end. This is what the numbers were on the scoreboard. 96 to 95, and then the bucket went in. Fourth quarter, 32 seconds, 13 seconds left. I want you to notice that right there, folks. When he shot that ball and it went through that rim, it was 13 seconds left. Now, do you realize what would have to go into getting that exactly the way it is if you're a player like Kobe? Folks, it's almost impossible to have that kind of consciousness, to be that aware, to shoot the ball, to get it to it going in the rim with 13 seconds left. 13, remember, is a match of his middle name called Bean, and 13, of course, is tied to gold in the string of pi, folks. This shot was gold. And, of course, the Jazz never scored after that. But when you add up all the numbers on this scoreboard right here, 96 plus 95 plus 4 plus 32 plus 13, you're going to get a direct match of Kobe's jersey, 240, drop the 0, there's the 24. The last full shot of his career is tied to his freaking jersey number. How about that? And, once again, this is what the finalized seconds on the clock is when they finally put it in there. You can watch the video, folks. I would encourage you to do that. When the ball goes through the hoop, it was exactly at 32 seconds, but of course they had to press the button and then the seconds ticked down. It was 31.6 seconds. 31 plus 6 is what, folks? 30-7, and Kobe was 37 in this final game of his career. You can see there are so many layers synchronizing this amazing mathematical precise game. So here is this is when Kobe and the team was going back down the court after they reset the clock to 24 minutes or 24 seconds, 31.6 seconds left, and then they adjusted the score 97 to 96. So of course I'm going to decode that. So going from 240, which was Kobe's last final shot, full shot, and then the scoreboard read this right here. When you add up all these, folks, you get the number 258, which is tied to the magic square of Saturn. It contains the 2, the 5, and the 8 right there. And if you know what you're looking for, folks, this has massive significance. If you don't know what you're looking for, or you've never seen this before, you may brush this off. But if you know what you're looking for and you can see the advanced layers of this coding, it's unbelievable, folks, how this stuff is showing up. So let's get into the fifth topic. This is our last topic. And the title of that is Golden Game. So again, I've showed this earlier, showed it tied to gallium. I want to go over it again. He had the winning shot with 31.6 seconds left, scored 60 total. 60s tied to the 127. And the 127 is the 31st prime number tied to that 31 seconds. I mean, folks, it's really kind of interesting when you look at all this kind of stuff. Here's the breakdown of Kobe's last game to give you some more other looks. When you do the numerology of April 13th, 2016, breaking it down, it's going to give you the number 17, which is a direct match to the word gold. And of course, remember, the Lakers had gold for their color besides the purple. And there is that tie into gold again. I showed this earlier. 79, appears at the 13th decimal digit, 13 and 14, which of course is 27, which is currency, which, you go right back to here. Here's the 27 with the number 1 in front of it. It's still tied to that, folks, still tied to that. And this is the final score of the game between Utah and the Lakers, Kobe's last game. 101, and it's reduced down. 101.96, when you reduce it down, becomes the number 17, tied to gold. This game was gold. Who's getting the currency? From all the fans that tuned in, that still watch it. When you watch the beginning of this video, Kobe's last shot, you're giving that energy as you watch it. Something's getting that energy. It's not the news stations or the sports stations. That I know. Not as the end result. But look at these tie-ins, folks. The last game, date 17, tied to gold 17, tied to the final score of 17. And remember, 17 is the mirror of the number 71. And a last slide, folks, to end this presentation. It's been a fun one. When you add up the total score between the Los Angeles Lakers and the Utah Jazz, Kobe's last game, 101 plus 96, get out your calculators. It's going to give you the number 197. Gold has several atomic weights, and this is one of them, folks. It's gold. Turning lead into gold. Kobe's life was all about turning lead into gold. Remember, he was born on the 23rd. 23 is the royal star of the lion, tied to the star Regulus in the zodiac sign Leo. Leo's the lion. Leo is lorded by the sun. The sun is gold, folks. So, folks, what did you see during this presentation? I'd love to hear your perspectives on this presentation. I mean, I could have added so many more slides in, folks. This decode was just sucking me in. I have so much more topics to decode and come out with. I'm so backed up in that, between a flurry of readings and a ton of messages from people coming in asking me questions, and I'm trying to help everybody out. And so just bear with me. If you sent me an email asking me questions, just bear with me on the time of when I get back to you, because I'm just between this and helping Santos and Danny out and doing their podcast. It's been pretty daunting on my time schedule. So anyway, folks, I'd love to hear what you saw during this presentation, what your observational points are. And again, you got to make the truth your own. I'm not here to twist anybody's arm. I'm not here to, I'm done debating really with the whole, well, man's running it. So if that's what you want to believe, folks, cool. That's awesome. Believe that. But I'm going to ask you to support that. Support it. Show me your support on why you think man is absolutely in control of this code. If that's what you believe, support it. It's like, going to court and you being the prosecution or the defense, you're going to have to submit your testimony. What's your testimony going to look like? Opinions are not going to be held up in court. You need evidence. And for the majority of people out there that I see trying to push their opinion, they don't offer any evidence. They just offer opinions, which is fine. You got to make the truth your own. But anyway, folks, I appreciate each and every one of you. A lot of you great decoders out there. Again, we don't have to agree upon everything. I'm not always right in what you see, and I'm, and vice versa and all that kind of stuff. But making the truth your own is where it's at, folks. It's really where it's at. So that's all I got for today. My name is Logan. This is Decode Your Reality. I thank each and every one of you for your donations, your Patreons. Those of you that want a reading, decodeyourreality@gmail.com. If you want my graphics, send me an email. I'll send them to you. So that's all I got, folks. Until next time, we will see you later.